There's a moment right before you open your charts when the world feels perfectly still. The market hasn't moved yet. No wins, no losses, just possibility. And in that silence, you can almost hear your thoughts, the whispers of hope, the quiet tremor of fear, the pulse of expectation. This is the space between you and the market, the invisible line where your beliefs meet reality. Some call it trading, but if you look closer, it's something deeper. It's the daily confrontation with yourself, your patience, your ego, your discipline, your chaos. This is not just about charts and price action. It's about awareness, emotional control, presence. Because in trading, as in life, you don't rise by conquering the world. You rise by conquering your mind. Welcome to Mind Over Markets, a journey into the psychology of trading where the greatest edge is not found on the screen, but within you. Most traders think they are fighting the market. They look at charts, candles, indicators, and price action, believing that if they can just decode the pattern, they'll win. But the truth is, the real battle is never on the chart. It's in your mind. Every decision you make in trading is filtered through fear, greed, hope, and doubt. You may think you're making logical choices, but deep down you're reacting to pain, to memories, to the desire to prove yourself. You tell yourself, I just need a better strategy. But no strategy can save a mind that's in chaos. The market isn't your enemy. It's a mirror. Every candle, every pullback, every false breakout shows you something about yourself, your patience, your confidence, your need for control. Most traders don't lose because they lack knowledge. They lose because they can't control the version of themselves that shows up when money is on the line. You can spend years studying charts, but if you don't study your own reactions, you'll keep repeating the same mistakes. Think about the last time you broke your rules. The entry was too early, the stop loss too wide. You told yourself it was fine, just this once. And when the trade went against you, you didn't accept it. You fought back, you doubled down, you tried to win back what you lost. But that wasn't trading anymore. That was emotion. That was your ego refusing to lose. Every trader has two selves. The rational self who writes the plan, sets the risk, and thinks clearly, and the emotional self who panics, overtrades, and forgets everything when the screen turns red. The difference between professionals and amateurs is not who has the better system. It's who has learned to manage the second self. Because when the market moves against you, you are forced to face your deepest insecurities, fear of loss, fear of being wrong, fear of not being good enough. And the cruel part is, the market doesn't care. It doesn't reward effort. It doesn't feel sorry for you. It doesn't care how much time you've spent studying. It only reflects your discipline, your patience, your ability to stay calm when everything is on fire. That's what trading really tests, not your intelligence, your emotional control. Every losing streak is a test of faith. Every drawdown whispers the same question. Do you trust your plan or do you trust your fear? And every time you break discipline, you reinforce the habit of emotional trading. You make it easier to do it again. That's why most traders stay stuck for years. Because they're not fighting the market, they're fighting themselves. You think the enemy is volatility. But the real volatility lives inside you in the swings between hope and despair, confidence and doubt, discipline and chaos. Until you learn to calm those swings, your results will always mirror your emotions. So pause for a moment. Ask yourself, when you trade, who are you really competing with? The market, or your own reflection staring back at you through the screen? Because every time you enter a trade, you're not just testing your analysis, you're testing your mindset. And until that mindset is stable, no system, no indicator, no strategy will ever give you consistency. You don't need to conquer the market. You need to master yourself. That's the first step to becoming a trader who no longer fears loss, no longer chases revenge, and no longer lets emotions decide the outcome. You don't trade the charts. You trade your beliefs about the charts. And when those beliefs are ruled by fear, the market will expose them brutally, honestly, without mercy. But if you learn to watch your emotions the same way you watch price action to see them rise and fall without attachment, then you begin to see the truth. The market is not random chaos. It's a reflection of human behavior, yours included. And when you understand that, you begin to trade from a place of calm awareness, not from the storm of reaction. This is the beginning of mastery, not of charts, but of the self. Fear, revenge, overconfidence. These are the three silent killers of every trader's potential. You've met them all, though. You may not have known their names. They don't come with warning signs. They don't announce their arrival. They simply appear in the middle of your trading day, in the moment between hesitation and impulse. And once they're inside your mind, they don't just influence your decisions, they become your decisions. The first and oldest emotion in trading, it's there the moment you click the buy button. Fear of losing, fear of missing out, fear of being wrong. It whispers, what if you're not ready? What if the market turns against you? What if this loss proves you'll never make it? You tell yourself you're being cautious, but fear disguises itself as logic. It makes you exit too soon, doubt your plan, hesitate when opportunity finally comes. Fear lives in every trader who has been burned before. Every loss leaves a scar, and every scar reminds you of pain. So your brain tries to protect you. But in trading, protection often means paralysis. You think you're staying safe, but you're actually staying stuck. You can't grow if you only move where it feels comfortable. You can't win if you're too afraid to risk again. The irony is that fear never really protects you. It just convinces you to abandon your edge before it has a chance to work. Real traders don't eliminate fear. They acknowledge it. They see it, feel it, and still follow their plan. Because courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision that something else matters more. The emotion that feeds on ego. You lose a trade. You feel the sting. The mind screams, I'll get it back. And in that moment, you stop being a trader. You become a gambler, a soldier blinded by the need to win a war that doesn't exist. Revenge trading is the illusion of control. It's your ego trying to erase the feeling of defeat. But the market doesn't care about your emotions. It doesn't owe you a recovery trade. It doesn't even know you exist. You can't fight it into submission. You can only surrender your need to be right. Because every revenge trade comes from the same wound, the belief that losing means you are a loser. But that's not true. A losing trade doesn't define you. Your reaction to it does. If you can't sit with the pain of a loss, you will always be its prisoner. You'll trade not to make money, but to escape your own discomfort. And that is when the account dies, not from one bad trade, but from 1,000 impulsive ones that came from the same emotional wound. To heal it, you must redefine what loss means. A loss is not punishment, it's feedback. It's the market teaching you humility, patience, and precision. You cannot trade well while trying to heal your ego. You can only trade well once you let it go. And then there is overconfidence, the most deceptive trap of all. It comes disguised as clarity. After a few wins, you start to believe you've cracked the code. You start breaking your rules not because you're scared, but because you feel untouchable. You tell yourself, I've evolved. I can feel the market now. And for a while it even works, until it doesn't. Overconfidence is subtle. It doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels like mastery, right up until it takes everything back. The mind loves the illusion of certainty. It wants to believe it has control. But trading will always humble those who believe they're above risk. The moment you think you can't lose, you've already begun to. because confidence without discipline is just arrogance wearing a mask. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to prove anything. It trusts the system executes without emotion and accepts losses as part of the process. Fear, revenge, overconfidence. 3 different emotions, but they all come from the same root attachment. Attachment to being right. Attachment to avoiding pain. Attachment to the illusion of control. The more attached you are, the more power these emotions have over you. But when you can detach not from trading itself, but from the outcome, you start to trade from a place of peace. The loss no longer defines you. The win no longer inflates you. You stop chasing emotions and start following logic. That's what professional traders do. They don't try to silence their emotions. They learn to see through them. They understand that fear, revenge, and overconfidence are not enemies to destroy, but signals to understand. Each one points to something deeper, a belief about yourself, a story you tell in your mind. The fear says, I don't trust myself. The revenge says, I can't stand being wrong. The overconfidence says, I need to prove I'm special. Once you see those stories, you can rewrite them. You realize that trading is not about predicting the market. It's about observing yourself while the market moves. Every emotion becomes data. Every reaction becomes insight. And slowly, you stop reacting. You start responding. You begin to trade with awareness, not adrenaline. That's when trading becomes something else, not just a way to make money, but a path to self-mastery. Because to trade well, you must first learn to see clearly. And to see clearly, you must first be honest about who you are when you trade. The market doesn't punish you. It simply reveals you. And the more you understand those revelations, the closer you move toward the mindset that separates a trader from a thinker, a gambler from a strategist, a struggler from a master. There comes a point in every trader's journey when you realize that the market is not the problem. The real struggle isn't external, it's internal. And in that moment, something begins to change. You stop asking, how can I win? And start asking, who am I when I lose? That's the shift. From reaction to reflection, from chaos to clarity. You begin to understand that every emotion has a pattern. Fear has a trigger. Revenge has a rhythm. Overconfidence has a voice. And once you can see those patterns, you no longer have to be controlled by them. Discipline isn't built in the heat of the moment. It's built in the quiet hours before the market opens. It starts with structure, a plan, a system, a set of rules. But the deeper discipline is emotional. It's the ability to follow your rules when every cell in your body is begging you to break them. Most traders think discipline means restriction, but real discipline is freedom. Freedom from the endless swing between euphoria and despair. When you are disciplined, you are no longer the slave of your emotions. You become the observer of them. You see fear rising and you breathe. You feel greed whispering and you pause. You notice the urge to overtrade and you choose stillness. That is emotional mastery, not suppression, but awareness. The professional trader lives in a different world than the amateur. The amateur measures success by the outcome of a single trade. The professional measures success by the quality of their process. The amateur asks, did I win? The professional asks, did I execute according to plan? Because a trader who executes well and loses is still on the right path. But a trader who breaks discipline and wins is walking toward destruction, just more slowly. Consistency comes from integrity, doing the right thing, even when it doesn't feel good. Every rule you write is a mirror of your values. And every time you follow it, you reinforce your identity as a disciplined trader. It's not about the money. It's about who you become in pursuit of it. There is a quiet strength that comes when you no longer depend on the outcome to validate you. When a loss is just a number, when a win doesn't make you reckless, when your mood no longer shifts with your balance, that's when trading becomes peaceful. Not because it's easy, but because you've stopped fighting yourself. The market still moves unpredictably. The candles still rise and fall. But inside, you are still. You don't chase setups. You let them come to you. You don't force trades. You wait for alignment. You understand that patience is not passive. It's power held in reserve. And in that stillness, you find your edge. True mastery isn't about predicting the next candle. It's about predicting your own behavior. You start to know your tendencies, when you're likely to hesitate, when you're tempted to double down, when you start drifting away from your plan. And instead of being swept away by them, you catch them. You see them forming like clouds on the horizon, and you choose differently. That's what self-awareness gives you, the power of choice. You can't control the market, but you can always control your response. And over time, that single truth becomes your greatest advantage. Because the trader who controls their emotions controls their future. To master trading psychology is not to eliminate emotion, but to build a relationship with it. Your fear keeps you aware. Your greed reminds you that you care. Your overconfidence shows you where you still need humility. Each emotion has wisdom in it if you're willing to listen without judgment. So instead of fighting them, thank them. They're part of the human experience, and the market is built entirely on human experience. To understand yourself is to understand the crowd, and to understand the crowd is to see the flow of price itself. The charts are human behavior written in numbers. Every candle is emotion made visible. When you learn to read emotion on the chart and emotion within yourself, you start to see patterns others can't. That's the invisible edge, the one that can't be coded or copied. Trading in the end becomes a mirror of your evolution. At first it's about money, then it becomes about control, and finally it becomes about awareness. You start to see how the same patterns that hurt you in trading also appear in your life. Impatience, self-doubt, the need to prove yourself. The market simply amplifies them. And so every trade becomes a meditation, a chance to practice patience, to practice humility, to practice letting go. It's no longer about being right. It's about being aligned with your plan, aligned with your values, aligned with the truth of the moment rather than the fantasy of what you want it to be. When you reach this stage, you stop asking for the market to be easier. You start asking to be stronger. You stop chasing outcomes and start mastering process. You stop fearing uncertainty and start embracing it as your teacher. Because in trading, as in life, uncertainty is the only constant. The goal isn't to eliminate it. The goal is to find peace inside it. That's what separates the emotional trader from the professional. Not the size of the account, but the depth of the mindset. So when you wake up tomorrow before you open your charts, ask yourself one simple question. Who am I bringing to the market today? The fearful self, the revengeful self, the overconfident self, or the observer, calm, present, aware? Because every trade begins long before you click buy. It begins with who you are in that moment. If you can master that, you can master anything. Because the charts are temporary. The market conditions will always change. But your state of mind, that's the foundation everything else is built upon. Master your mind, and the market becomes your mirror, not your enemy. That is trading psychology. That is the path of mastery. And that is how you rise above the noise to trade not from emotion, but from inner peace. Awareness is the beginning, but awareness alone is not enough. You can know every pattern of your mind, understand every emotional trap, speak beautifully about psychology, and still fall apart the moment the candle turns against you. Knowledge doesn't change you. Practice does. And this is where most traders stop. They understand everything in theory, but they never train it into reality. Because training the mind is not about learning more, it's about repetition. Daily intentional repetition. The professional doesn't wake up and hope to feel disciplined. They create discipline through structure, ritual, and self-awareness. Trading psychology isn't something you read once, it's something you live every day. You live it when you journal your trades, not to judge yourself, but to understand yourself. You live it when you stop chasing setups and instead wait for alignment. You live it when you feel fear rising in your chest, and instead of reacting, you breathe, you pause, you remember who you are. This is what it means to integrate mindset, to turn insight into instinct. Start simple. Before every trading session, sit for 2 minutes in silence. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Not what you think, what you feel. If you notice excitement, fear, restlessness, name it. The act of naming gives you distance. When you can observe an emotion, you're no longer ruled by it. Then look at your plan, not to change it, but to remember it, because the mind forgets quickly when money is on the line. A good plan doesn't protect you. Your commitment to it does. During your session, track not just the trades you take, but the thoughts that come before and after. Write them down. Be honest, brutally honest. Patterns will start to appear. You'll see your emotional fingerprints, the little habits that repeat every time you win, lose, or hesitate. And once you see the pattern, you can interrupt it. That's how awareness turns into mastery. Because every trigger you catch, every impulsive click you prevent, every emotional reaction you dissolve is a small victory. Not against the market, but against the old version of you. At the end of each day, reflect not on profit, but on performance. Ask yourself 3 questions. Did I follow my plan? Did I stay emotionally centered? Did I act from discipline or from impulse? Those 3 questions asked daily can transform your psychology more than any book, any guru, any system. Because mastery isn't found in a single breakthrough. It's built one conscious moment at a time. You will still have bad days. You will still make mistakes. You will still feel fear, doubt, greed. That's okay. You're human. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to recover faster, to recognize the storm sooner, and return to balance quicker each time. A losing day doesn't destroy you anymore because you've built a foundation that can't be shaken by one outcome. That's what emotional resilience feels like. Not the absence of pain, but the ability to stay grounded in the middle of it. And slowly you begin to notice something subtle. Your trading results start to stabilize. Your stress starts to fade. Your focus deepens. You start to feel the rhythm of the market, not through intuition, but through presence. You're no longer chasing trades. You're waiting for clarity. You're no longer reacting to losses. You're learning from them. You've stopped fighting for control, and in doing so, you've finally gained it. The mind that once felt scattered now feels centered. The chaos that once ruled you now becomes data. You begin to see the market for what it truly is, a reflection, a teacher, a mirror of human nature. And as you evolve, your relationship with trading changes. It's no longer about winning. It's about alignment. It's about peace. It's about awareness. Every click, every decision, every breath becomes part of a deeper practice, the practice of staying conscious in a world built on reaction. That's what separates the master from the crowd. Not talent, not luck, not even strategy. Just awareness, consistency, and presence. Because in the end, trading psychology isn't about the market at all. It's about life, how you deal with uncertainty, how you respond to loss, how you manage desire, how you sit in discomfort and still make clear decisions. When you understand that, you realize that every trading session is an opportunity to train your character. Patience becomes strength. Loss becomes humility. Profit becomes gratitude. And discipline becomes peace. This is the path. This is mind over markets. The goal isn't to escape emotion, it's to see through it. The goal isn't to conquer the market, it's to understand yourself within it. Because once you master the mind, the market no longer feels like a storm. It becomes an ocean, and you finally learn how to sail. The market will keep moving up, down, sideways, indifferent to your hopes and fears. But within that endless movement, you have a choice to chase noise or to build stillness, to react blindly or to respond with awareness. The difference is everything, because the real win isn't in a single trade. It's in who you become through every trade. Every loss can teach you something. Every mistake can refine you. Every moment of patience brings you closer to mastery. This is the way of the mindful trader, steady, centered, aware. So as you close your platform today, remember, you're not leaving the market. You're taking it with you inside your mind in every breath, in every choice that follows. Because trading isn't just about profit. It's about presence. It's about peace. It's about learning to see clearly when everything around you moves in chaos. This is mind over markets, where your next trade begins not with a signal, but with silence.